Welcome back everybody to yet another vlog. So today I want to share with you some of the best advice I've gotten over the course of my life. Things that have truly helped me out during certain events that took place. This advice isn't ranked in any specific order. So yeah, cue the intro. The key to a successful relationship isn't love, it's respect and compromise. I remember my dad sharing this advice with me when I was about 16 years old, and I remember thinking that's utterly ridiculous. If Hollywood had taught me anything at that point, it's that all you need is love. That love is all that matters, and that it's all that you need to have a successful relationship. But oh boy, was I wrong, and was he right. A few years down the line, and a couple of relationships later, I finally started to understand what he truly meant when he gave me that piece of advice. Respecting your partner and their wishes, and learning to compromise your wants with theirs, that's what truly keeps a relationship going. So yeah, thanks for the tip, old man. I just truly wish I understood it a little bit earlier. Advice number 2. If you can walk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch. This line is from my all-time favorite poem. It's called If by Rudyard Kipling. The entire poem talks about what it takes to be a man. And if you think that being a male makes you a man, I'm sorry, but you've got the definition really skewed. The message this line is sending is very simple. Be true to yourself. No matter the surroundings, no matter what's going on around you, no matter what the majority, the big group of people around you think, just be true to yourself, to your beliefs. Don't let the environment surrounding you define your character, but instead let your character define the environment surrounding it. This is probably one of the most important pieces of advice I've ever gotten in my entire life. As a child, I was always prone to peer pressure. I would always kind of listen and try to do my best to fit into whatever group that I was in at the time, which resulted in me doing some really stupid shit just to impress my peers at a really young age. It was only till my later teens, around 16 or 18 even I'd say, that I read this line and it resonated with me. And suddenly I stopped caring what the majority wanted to do. If I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't. And you'd be surprised just how much your surroundings change when you stand up to what you believe in and just say no. But yeah, so this was probably one of the most important lines I've ever read in my life. And I would highly recommend anybody to read the entirety of this poem, as it's one of the best poems I've ever read. Be kind and treat people the way you wish to be treated. This quote or piece of advice is probably one of my earliest memories. I remember both my mother and my grandmother repeating this again and again and again. My mom and my grandma repeated this quote, which originally came from Islam. It's one of the Prophet's sayings. In Arabic, it says, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه, which translates to, you are not a true believer until you wish for others what you wish for yourself. This is one of the most applicable pieces of advice that I have ever gotten in my entire life, whether it be in your personal life, with strangers, at work. This is so applicable, more than you can possibly imagine. If you treat people with respect and make them feel special and do everything you can to help them, they will generally do the same when they're capable of doing so. At work, if you're a boss and you have employees, if you treat your employees the same way you wish to be treated when you were someone else's employee, you'll see the difference that makes in their work ethic and in their dedication to the job that they're doing. In your personal life, see how much difference it makes when you treat your friends the way you wish they'd treat you. So with friends and family, this is also extremely applicable. If you listen and support your friends when they need you the most, they in turn will always do the same for you. But don't go out doing things for people just because you're expecting them to do it in return. Do it because of the goodness of your own heart, for the joy of actually helping someone out. Advice number 4. Alright, so advice number 4 is actually 2 pieces of advice, but since they stem from the same source, I grouped them together. They're basically 2 things. The first one is, take accountability. Right? This is so important. And then the next one is always be the last to speak. These two pieces of advice come from one of my favorite authors. His name is Simon Sinek, and he's a very well accomplished author. He has multiple #1 selling books about what it takes to be a good leader and what it takes to build a good business, etc., etc. First, let's talk about the first one, which is taking accountability for your actions. Most people are more than happy to jump on the wagon and take credit when something good has happened, even though they may not have done much to it, but they're always happy to take credit for good things. However, when the opposite happens and something bad takes place, everybody does their absolute freaking best to not be the person to take the blame, even if they were the ones that made the mistake. However, taking accountability for your actions is actually a really, really good thing for two different reasons. The first reason being that when you take accountability for a mistake that you've made, it actually forces you to think about that mistake. And it forces you to think about the series of decisions that you took that led you to making that mistake in the first place. And when you finally do that and you know how you ended up making the mistake, it's something that you are not likely to repeat in the future. However, when you dodge the blame and somebody else takes it, you're not gonna think about that mistake. You're just gonna go like, I finally dodged the bullet. And then you're gonna make it again in the future. And the second reason taking accountability for your actions is really important. Believe it or not, taking accountability for a mistake that you know you made will command respect from people around you. Going to somebody who you've actually wronged at some point and saying the words, "I'm sorry," makes you a better human being. And I'm not just talking about going up to someone and apologizing. You apologize while understanding what you did wrong, and you make sure that you don't repeat the same mistake again. The second part of this is always be the last to speak. And no, this doesn't mean that you should always have the final word in whatever conversation you're participating in. This means that you should listen to those around you. You should listen to the opinions everybody else is contributing. You should listen to all various different points of views on the same topic before coming to your final conclusion. Only when you do that and you've listened to everybody's side of the story will you reach a conclusion that's complete, where you've heard everybody's side of the story and every possible thing that needs to be considered. That is how you end up making a correct decision. If you learn to implement this skill into your life and to actually listen and be patient and get the full story, it's gonna save you a lot of apologies of, "I'm sorry, I didn't know." And lastly, we move on to advice number 5, right? This is less of an advice and more of a life lesson that I've learned over the course of the years. And it's very simple. Trust your instincts. Unfortunately for me, I learned this lesson the hard way after ignoring my instincts on multiple occasions, which resulted in very, very bad decisions. However, over the course of the years, I learned that, hey, I always have this gut feeling when I'm about to do something I know I'm gonna regret, so maybe I should listen to that. Your instincts are an accumulation of your experiences in life. So when you get that gut feeling that's telling you, don't do this or do this, whichever case it may be, you should listen to it. This is basically you giving yourself advice. All the experiences you've been through, your instincts are basically just calling back on all the experiences you've been through and telling you that this is the right or wrong decision based on your own experiences. So you should always trust your instincts. I really hope that these simple, small pieces of advice can be valuable to you the same way that it was valuable to me at certain stages of my life. Can you guys relate to any of these pieces of advice that I mentioned earlier? And what are the best advice you've got throughout your life? Please share that in the comments and remember to like and subscribe.